Today we're going to be talking about the control system of the human body, and that's the endocrine system. This is the body's chemical communication network, and it works hand in hand with the nervous system. While the nervous system sends fast electrical signals, the endocrine system uses hormones, which is a slower messenger that travels through the bloodstream to create long-lasting effects. By the end of this chapter, you'll be able to understand how these hormones coordinate everything from growth and metabolism to reproduction and stress. The endocrine system is a collection of specialized cells and tissues that secrete hormones. These hormones act like text messages that circulate throughout the blood to specialized recipients or target cells that have the right receptors. What's amazing is that the endocrine system and endocrine glands don't use ducts. They release their products straight into the bloodstream. This design makes it possible for hormones to reach every corner of the human body, ensuring that communication even between distant organs. One key feature of the system is its precision. Even though hormones have access to every cell, only certain cells actually respond, those that have the right receptors. That's what gives hormones their specificity. Another point to highlight, the endocrine communication is slower than neural signaling. When neurons send rapid-fire impulses, hormones take their time but create broader, long-lasting effects. It's also worth noting that the endocrine system and nervous system constantly interact. Think of the hypothalamus as the bridge between the two. Together, they maintain homeostasis, or the body's internal balance. Hormones come in two main flavors, steroid and non-steroid. Steroid hormones are lipid-based, structurally related to cholesterols. Because they're fat-soluble, they can cross the plasma membrane and bind to receptors inside the cell. This means that they directly influence gene expression. They literally tell your DNA what proteins to make. Non-steroid hormones, on the other hand, are protein-based. They can't cross the cell membrane, so they bind to receptors on the surface. This triggers a cascade of internal signals that change cell activity from the inside out. It's like one group uses a key and the other one uses a doorbell. Hormones also play a part of the feedback system that keeps our internal environment stable. Most operate through a negative feedback loop, the same type of control that keeps your home's thermostat steady. When a hormone's effects brings the body back to normal, the system automatically reduces its production. For example, if your blood sugar drops too low, your pancreas releases glucagon. Once levels rise, the signal shuts off. And it's an elegant design, self-regulating, automatic. Now let's meet the stars of the endocrine system, the hypothalamus and pituitary glands. The hypothalamus is the body's homeostatic command center. It links the nervous system and the endocrine systems together. It produces some hormones directly, but it also tells the pituitary what to do. The pituitary, often called the master gland, secretes 8 different hormones that regulate other glands like the thyroid, adrenal gland, and gonads. Together, the hypothalamus and the pituitary act like the conductors of the hormonal orchestra, ensuring each organ plays in harmony. The posterior pituitary is actually an extension of the hypothalamus. Hormones like antidiuretic hormone and oxytocin are made in the hypothalamus and stored in the posterior pituitary until they are needed. ADH helps the kidneys conserve water, especially when you're dehydrated. Oxytocin, sometimes called the love hormone, triggers uterine contractions during labor and milk release during breastfeeding. It's also involved in emotional bonding, a reminder that biology and behavior are deeply connected. Unlike the posterior pituitary, the anterior pituitary makes its own hormones, but it still listens to orders from the hypothalamus through the specialized network called the pituitary portal system. Think of it like the private communication line. The anterior pituitary produces 6 major hormones: adrenocorticotropic hormone, or ACTH, thyroid-stimulating hormone, or TSH, follicle-stimulating hormone, FSH, luteinizing hormone, LH, prolactin, and growth hormone, each targeting different parts of the body. These hormones regulate metabolism, reproduction, and growth, essentially controlling how the body develops and adapts to internal and external changes. Let's unpack a few of these. Adrenocorticotropic hormone stimulates the adrenal cortex to release cortisol, the body's main stress hormone. TSH, or thyroid-stimulating hormone, tells the thyroid to release its hormones to regulate metabolism. FSH and LH, collectively called gonadotropins, influence the reproductive organs, their relationship for puberty and sexual maturation. The last 2 hormones from this group are prolactin and growth hormone. Prolactin stimulates the mammary glands to produce milk, while growth hormone fuels the development of bones and muscles, especially during childhood and adolescence. In adults, growth hormone helps maintain healthy tissue and metabolism. The balance of these hormones is crucial. Too much or too little can lead to significant disorders, which we'll explore next. When the pituitary malfunctions even slightly, the ripple effect can be enormous. Too little or too much hormone output changes growth, metabolism, and water balance. For example, ADH is underproduced, the kidneys can't conserve water, a condition called diabetes insipidus. It leads to constant thirst and frequent urinations, but not as because of blood sugar. Too much growth hormone during childhood causes gigantism, while excess in adulthood leads to acromegaly, where bones in the face and hand thicken. On the flip side, too little growth hormone in childhood can cause pituitary dwarfism. Next, we move on to the most essential glands for energy balance, the pancreas. It plays both endocrine and digestive roles. Its endocrine function revolves around three hormones: glucagon, insulin, and somatostatin. Glucagon raises blood sugar when it drops too low, triggering the liver to break down glycogen into glucose. Insulin does the opposite, lowering blood glucose by helping cells take in glucose. Somatostatin acts as the referee, preventing both from overreacting and keeping blood sugar levels steady. This constant hormone conversation keeps our energy levels balanced no matter what we eat. Now let's talk about stress and the glands that help you survive it. The adrenal cortex produces steroid hormones, mainly glucocorticoids and mineralocorticoids. Cortisol, the main glucocorticoid, keeps blood sugar steadily during fasting and helps control inflammation. It's your long-term stress hormone, ensuring you have energy to respond to challenges. Aldosterone, a mineralocorticoid, regulates sodium and potassium levels and helps control blood pressure. If sodium or water levels drop, aldosterone takes the kidneys to conserve both. Together, these hormones form the chemical backbones of survival. While the adrenal cortex handles long-term stress, the adrenal medulla is about short-term emergencies. It's basically an extension of the sympathetic nervous system. When danger hits, adrenal medulla releases epinephrine and norepinephrine, also known as adrenaline and noradrenaline. These hormones raise heart rate, blood pressure, and breathing rate, preparing the body for fight or flight. They even shift blood flow away from the digestive system and towards your muscles. Located in the front of your neck, the thyroid and parathyroid glands regulate metabolism and calcium balance. The thyroid sets the pace for your body's metabolism. It's like your biological accelerator pedal. Meanwhile, the parathyroid, these tiny glands on the back of the thyroid, fine-tune calcium in the blood. Together, they ensure that muscle contractions, nerve impulses, and bone remodeling all happen smoothly. These two gland systems may be small, but they control some of the most fundamental chemical reactions in your body. The thyroid secretes two main hormones, T4 and T3. These increase how quickly your cells convert glucose into ATP, raising your overall metabolic rate. The release of these hormones is stimulated by TSH from the pituitary, linking the thyroid back into the large abnormal hormonal network. The thyroid also makes calcitonin, which lowers blood calcium levels by reducing bone breakdown and encouraging calcium storage in the bone. The combined effects helps regulate both your metabolism and your skeletal health. To make thyroid hormone, the body needs iodine, a trace mineral found in seafood and iodinized salt. Without enough iodine, the thyroid can produce T3 and T4. The pituitary, sensing low hormone levels, sends out more TSH to stimulate the thyroid, which causes the gland to enlarge. This is what we call a goiter. It's a striking example of how feedback loops can go awry when the raw materials are missing. It also shows how global health initiatives like iodinizing salt have saved millions from thyroid disorders. Calcitonin works quietly behind the scenes, especially during childhood. It inhibits osteoclasts, these cells that break down bone and stimulate calcium uptake in the bones. This dual action helps build and maintain bone density while lowering blood calcium levels. It's particularly vital during growth and in maintaining bone strength as we age. In males, the testes are the main source of testosterone, which are far-reaching effects beyond reproduction. Before birth, it directs the development of the male genitalia. At puberty, it drives the changes we associate with male maturation. Muscle growth, facial hair, deeper voice, and the sex drive. Testosterone also supports sperm production and overall energy. In females, the ovaries produce estrogen and progesterone, steroid hormones that regulate the menstrual cycle and reproductive systems. Estrogen fosters secondary sex characteristics like breast development and body fat distribution, while progesterone prepares the uterus for pregnancy. This production begins at puberty when FSH and LH from the pituitary activate the ovaries. These hormones also affect bone density, mood, and even cardiovascular health. Not all hormones come from the major glands. Several other organs quietly contribute to the body's hormonal balance. The thymus, located just above the heart, secretes thymosin and thymopoietin, which guides the development of T lymphocytes, key players in the immune system. It's most active during childhood when the immune system is still learning. Then there's the pineal gland, tucked deep inside the brain. It produces melatonin, which helps regulate sleep and wake cycles. The pineal gland is like our internal clock, responding to light and darkness to keep our daily rhythms synchronized. It might surprise you, but even your heart and digestive systems have endocrine glands. The heart releases atrial natriuretic hormone, which helps lower blood pressure by increasing sodium and water absorption in the kidneys. The digestive system produces several hormones, gastrin, secretin, and cholecystokinin, that can coordinate digestion by signaling the stomach, pancreas, and gallbladder. These hormones ensure that enzymes, bile, and the stomach acids are released at just the right time. The kidneys are another multitasking organ. They produce erythropoietin, which stimulates red blood cell production in the bone marrow. That's crucial for maintaining oxygen delivery throughout the body. They also release renin, an enzyme that activates the renin-angiotensin system, a complex feedback loop that helps control blood pressure and fluid balance. Renin indirectly triggers aldosterone, releasing and causing blood vessels to constrict. So when you're dehydrated or lose blood, the kidneys step in a hormonal regulator to restore equilibrium. Now let's shift at some of the local chemical messengers that act like hormones, but they don't travel through the bloodstream. These molecules work close to where they're being released. Histamine, for instance, is secreted by mast cells in response to injury or allergy. It triggers inflammation, helping blood vessels become more permeable for immune cells. Prostaglandins are another example. They control blood flow, contributing to inflammation and fever, and assist in blood clotting. These substances remind us that the chemical signaling can just happen on a very local scale. A few more examples complete this picture. Nitric oxide is a gas that diffuses rapidly through the tissues, regulating local blood flow and even controlling penile erection. It also acts as a neurotransmitter and antimicrobial agent. Then we have growth factors, which help cells divide and specialize during development and repair. While not traditional hormones, these chemical messengers are crucial for fine-tuning physiological responses. Now let's turn to what happens when the endocrine system malfunctions. Hormonal imbalances can affect nearly every organ. One of the most common endocrine disorders is diabetes mellitus, a problem with blood sugar regulation. In diabetes, glucose can't efficiently enter cells, so it accumulates in the blood. The body's cells starve for energy while excess glucose spills in the urine, dragging water along with it. That's why dehydration, thirst, fatigue, and frequent urinations are common symptoms. Over time, uncontrolled diabetes affects the heart, eyes, kidneys, and nerves. Type 1 diabetes is also known as insulin-dependent diabetes. Here, the pancreas fails to produce enough insulin because the immune system destroys the beta cells that make it. It's typically diagnosed in childhood or adolescence. Without insulin, cells can't take in glucose, forcing the body to break down fats and proteins instead, leading to weight loss and fatigue. Treatment involves insulin injections and carefully monitoring. While genetics may play a role, environmental triggers like viral infections are also suspects. Only about 5 to 10% of the diabetics cause type 1, but it can be life-threatening without proper management. Type 2 diabetes, the more common form, is characterized by insulin resistance. In this case, the body produces insulin, but the cells don't respond properly. It's often linked to diet, inactivity, or obesity. Type 2 diabetes usually develops in adults over 40, but rates among younger people are increasing worldwide. Treatments focus on lifestyle changes, balanced diet, exercise, and weight management, and sometimes medications to improve insulin sensitivity. This form makes up about 99 to 95% of all diabetic cases and highlights how modern lifestyle changes alter our physiological systems. The thyroid gland can swing in both extremes. Hypothyroidism means that the thyroid is underactive. In children, it causes cretinism, which stunts growth and affects brain development, while in adults, it leads to mixed edema, which produces lethargy, weight gain, and low metabolism. On the other end, hyperthyroidism speeds everything up. Metabolism soars, heart rate jumps, and patients often feel anxious or lose weight. A common cause is Graves' disease, an autoimmune disorder where antibodies mimic TSH, overstimulating the thyroid. The adrenal gland also experiences over or underproduction. Addison's disease occurs when the adrenal cortex fails, leading to low cortisol and aldosterone levels. The result is chronic fatigue, low blood pressure, and characteristic bronzing of the skin. Let's continue with Cushing's syndrome for a moment. When cortisol levels stay high for too long, the body pays a price. Muscles weaken and immune system is suppressed, and fat tends to accumulate in the trunk and face. You might see a rounded moon face or a fatty hump on the upper back, classic signs of this disorder. Cortisol's job is to mobilize energy during stress, and when it's constantly elevated, it breaks down tissues instead of protecting them. Now let's look at hypogonadism, a condition where the testes produce unusually low levels of testosterone. The effect depends on where the deficiency occurs. Before birth, it can lead to ambiguous or underdeveloped genitalia. Before puberty, it delays or prevents male sexual maturation. In adults, it causes fatigue, low libido, depression, and loss of muscle mass. The good news is that the treatment with testosterone replacement can restore many normal functions. It's one of the several examples of how modern medicine can supplement missing hormones to restore physiological balance.